I made a video the other day. It got a lot of positive traction from fellow veterans who felt seen or targeted or whatever. People of all services except Space Force, lol, related to the content, feeling like it took them back to their time in service. A lot of civilians left some comments too, asking if this is what's wrong with me, for example. No. I also got some other comments that I'm going to touch on. But first, I want to give a shout out to my buddy Joshua Bordonaro, who took his own life on his 38th birthday in 2016. I met Josh in like 1996 or something. We were then stationed at our first permanent duty station together, solidifying our bond as best buddies. I love you. I miss you every day. Whew. A lot of the things I'm going to cover today are shenanigans in which Josh participated. Now, before I get on with this, the picture that you see of Josh is a Marine picture, and many of you will remember that I was in the Army. Josh was also in the Army. He was badly mistreated by the Army, and so he got a tattoo of a pair of combat boots and dog tags with the words, "Never Again," and got out of the Army. I later had Josh come live with me so he could get his life back together, and I helped put him into the Marine Corps, courtesy of my next door neighbor who's a Marine. Alright, so in today's video, I'm talking about barracks life because I can't be making angry rant videos several times a day. First story I have relates to the comment that I made about the dork-ass kids playing D&D in the barracks. In the early 90s, I got introduced to D&D courtesy of this fine-ass girl I wanted to make out with, Laura Nash. Laura, if you're watching, we have unfinished business. You know what I'm talking about. I started playing D&D regularly when I was still a trainee, and I started DMing. Well, actually, DM stands for Dungeon Master, the person who runs the D&D game for the D&D players. And I started DMing for various guys and girls in the barracks when there was no one to run a game. My favorite player race is a dwarf, because beard. And my favorite classes to play are paladins and psionists, which some of y'all don't even know about. So when I say dork-ass kids playing D&D, I was actually the DM for those dork-ass kids. It was me, Sergeant Wise, Mikey Cantu, Josh Bordonaro, and some other dudes whose names escape me. We'd get together Friday night after being released. We'd order pizza. I think my favorite at the time was the pesto crust pepperoni and mushroom pizza from Pizza Slut or Domino's. I just can't remember. I had a barracks room all to myself and whatever chick I was banging on the regular. So I'd set up the D&D table on the back of a knocked over wall locker that served as my coffee table, and we'd crowd into the room and get set up. We'd usually play until someone passed the fuck out around 3 a.m. Then we'd wake up around like 9 or 10 a.m., schlep over to the chow hall. Excuse me, the PC term is now a DFAC. And then come back and play D&D all day until well after midnight. And yes, I still found time to absolutely get hammered with other buddies. Next comment. It's no secret that single soldiers, male and female and NB, like to fuck. I'm absolutely no exception. I like to fuck a lot. A lot. I like to fuck so much that after I got divorced and moved into this shitty apartment complex, the dude who was my neighbor left a Google review about the fact that he would beat on the walls and shout, "Go Redskins," whenever I got too rowdy. Anyway, like I said earlier, I had my own barracks room. Our barracks were made of like brick and cinder blocks and steel and linoleum and shit like that. I had a wobbly ass bed, and that sumbitch would smack the cinder block wall, and inevitably I'd get someone casting disparaging remarks when I inevitably got too loud. Maybe next time I'll tell you about the time I convinced a stripper named Rio, who was visiting from Atlanta, to come home with me one night. Last story. My buddies and I, one of whom was the aforementioned Josh Bordonaro, cruised on down to the local Walmart one day in Mikey Cantu's little Suzuki Samurai, and we bought one of those inflatable pools that had the 1 foot thick, 3 foot high walls and could fit like a short bus full of kids in the pool. So I duct taped garden hoses to several of the barracks room's bathtub faucets, and in about 15 minutes we had blisteringly hot water in a pool and like 5 drunk army dudes hanging out. We even had one of those inflatable drink holders shaped like a tropical island with a little palm tree. We started drinking and making prank calls, and then we prank called this woman who figured out it was a prank call, and so she called us on our bullshit. So I started backing on this girl over the phone and told her we were having a barracks pool party. But this story is eventually going to get X-rated, so I'm just going to stop there because YouTube already thinks that my content is controversial and abusive. The staff duty officer came up, he stopped in the doorway, he took like one look and turned around. This motherfucker was like, "I just graduated West Point, I'm too young for this bullshit." The problem with this, I lived on the 4th floor of the barracks, and water weighs a fucking ton. So when it was time for a bunch of drunk soldiers to get rid of the evidence, we had to muscle this fucking pool over to the railing and then dump it over the side. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard the sound of 6 billion gallons of hot water rapidly reaching terminal velocity and then impacting the cement after a lengthy travel of 40-some feet, but on Monday morning at 3 a.m., it's absolutely fucking loud. To compound the problem, the battalion Sergeant Major Heil, we used to joke that his first name was Sieg, get it? Sieg Heil, had recently implemented an area beautification project with all the shitbag Article 15 and extra duty soldiers. They spent a lot of time and money planting flower beds around the outer walls of the barracks, and 90 kajillion gigajoules of liquefied energy shot out of a fucking railgun impacting with flower beds. Well, I mean, you don't need to be Johnny fucking Appleseed to know what happened next. Monday morning, we go barreling down the stairs, and the ground floor is like an apocalyptic moonscape. It was fucking awful, bro. I shit you not. I had no idea what the feeling of a sinking stomach felt like until that very moment. Imagine 5 or 6 dudes in tiny ass gray PT shorts and shirts staring at the scene that looked like the aftermath of something resembling the bastard love child of the Dresden firebombing that raw dogged the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombshells. Alright, that's my Big Sarge Tim talk from a long ass time ago. Y'all want to hear more Barracks Not War stories? Leave a comment or go ahead and ask specific questions in the comment section for this video. Maybe next time I'll tell you about the time I set off a fucking smoke grenade. Not a smoke bomb, but a literal military smoke grenade in Troy Coughlin's barracks bathtub, and the whole fire department came out. For Sons of Liberty, I'm Admin Tim, and Admin Tim 316 says get fucked and die mad about it. 2 claps and a Rick. Woo!
And now it's time for the throw punch!
A smoke bomb, but a literal military smoke grenade in Troy Coughlin's barracks bathroom bathtub. And barracks bathroom bathtub, that's a fucking alliteration from hell. There's a lot of X-rated filthy McNasty shit that I'm just not going to talk about because this ain't the video equivalent of Penthouse Letters. I was out smoking one night, it was like 9 p.m., and out of the corner of my eye, I see a second-story barracks window come flinging open, and this prosthetic leg goes sailing out into knee-high snow. Moments later, this one-legged girl comes hobbling out, frantically searching for it. By the time I was setting off fireworks inside the barracks, like fucking Roman candles shooting down the hallways, rappelling down the side of the barracks from the roof of the barracks after we used motor pool bolt cutters to access the locked roof access ladders. Sometimes we'd line up empty beer bottles like they were bowling pins at the end of the hallway and have a brand new private strap his helmet on. We'd lay him down on a skateboard and then launch him into the beer bottle bowling pins.